Hello, I believe that we are live. Instagram, I love you. All right, well, it is 9 o'clock on Tuesday. You get Tasha on Tuesdays, right, for the weekly IGTV show that is called Choose You. It is powered by the Mrs. Globe organization. I am Tasha Haskins, Mrs. Curvey Globe 2020, and the author of Choose You, Change Your Path, and Walk in Your Purpose. So I want to say good morning to another Tuesday, actually the first Tuesday in April. So welcome to April. You see, I'm kind of bright. Good morning, Shalimar. Good morning. Oh, I see Vanessa's online. You guys already know I'm going to give my sponsor shout outs here shortly. But for now, again, you have just logged into Choose You, the weekly IGTV show powered by Mrs. Globe. I'm Tasha Haskins, Mrs. Curvey Globe 2020, and the author of Choose You, Change Your Path, and Walk in Your Purpose. Today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Maureen Francisco. She is, she is just a powerhouse. I love her so much. I've known her for many, many years and have just really enjoyed watching the expansion of everything that she does. I believe she will be coming online here shortly. I know we were chatting a little bit earlier, so hopefully I will get her on here soon. I think I might even tag her. Is that possible to do on Instagram? Let's try it. All right. I think I can do that. Can I do it? I don't know. All right. So, anyway, today's show, we're going to be learning how Maureen chooses her, especially during this time in our country where there have been a lot of targeting towards, Asian Americans, and her as a beautiful Asian woman, as well as I believe she has a bunch of positions with the Ascend board, which is for those Pan-Asian people in the community. And she also has pioneered a program that's kind of like the pageant Oscar. It's called the Global Beauty Awards. It is in its fourth year. I had the honor of actually being nominated in 4 areas, as well as receiving an award from the Global Beauty Awards in 2018. So I'm very, very excited to hear from her and hear how she chooses her. Now, I'm going to see if it's going to let me do this. I don't know. Nope, it didn't let me do it. Okay. All right. So, there she is. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to give my sponsor shout outs really quickly. Of course, I have to shout out Vanessa, Queen's Allure owner, who always makes sure that my makeup is on point. She also does my hair as well. So thank you, Vanessa. She's based out of Olympia, Washington, and outstanding. Every Tuesday morning, she is here at 7 a.m. sharp, making sure I look amazing, as well as for all other events. I also want to give a shout out to Monique Bruner out of Olympia. She is a paparazzi jewelry provider, and these lovely earrings are from her. So thank you, Monique. Also, of course, I have to shout out my wardrobe sponsor, and that is Fashion Nova Curve. Thank you. I love my mauve pants and jacket. You guys are going to see photos of that a little bit later. All right. So I do see that Maureen is on live. She is the woman of the hour. So enough of me, and we're getting ready to bring her on. All right. Very, very excited to do this with her. So let's see. I think it's bringing her on. Oh, yeah. She's sideways. There you are.
Yeah.
I was like,
this is my first Instagram live, I think, with someone.
Really? I'm kind of surprised because your queens are doing them all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not used to doing them myself, but it's great to see you. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much for being on it today. Of course, this is my weekly Tuesday show that I do called Choose You, and I'm really, really honored to have you. You have a lot going on. Next month is a really big month for you. So, I see you, Miss Jennifer. Thanks for joining in. So we have a lot of really great questions for you, and I'm excited that you are here. Before we get in kind of the little events that you're doing, why don't you share with everyone that's watching and who will be watching in the future a little bit about you, just kind of like your journey, because I mean, everyone sees you as the great, Maureen Francisco, producer of the world, right? But I mean, we all start somewhere, and I know when I first met you, you were kind of single lady doing your thing, and now you're a mom, and you get to co-produce and everything. So I would love to hear a little bit of your testimony, right? Because people, they see our glory, but they don't always know our story, right? So I'd love to hear from you.
Well, Tasha, first off, thank you so much for having me. And prior to joining this glamorous world, the pageantry world, I was actually a reporter and news anchor hopping from one market to another. And that's what I did right after college. I worked in Yakima, then Savannah, then Flint, and eventually made my way to Seattle. Then I started to work in the startup space. And unbeknownst to me, I meet this young woman who happened to be a pageant contestant. And she was introduced to me from a producer who I had worked with about 10 years prior. And she wanted to learn about the industry, how to get into news reporting and anchoring. And I shared with her what I did. And then she turned the tables and asked me, well, what are you working on right now? And I said, I'm working on a book. I'm writing a book about successful immigrants and those who came from very humble beginnings. And she goes, well, why don't you meet my state director of this pageant that I'm currently participating in, is David, and
I love it.
Interview him for my book. My very first meeting, I bring my laptop, I hit record, and I learn about his life story. And I had no idea we would get married a year later, and here I am, part of this pageant community.
That is so, I think that's so hilarious to me, especially because you were so like business, like you're like, I'm here for business. I'm interviewing you. Like, this is how this is. And I really, I love you guys together. Of course, I knew David before there was a you, and I'll never forget, we were speaking at this pageant workshop together, and he's, it was funny because he's talking, he's talking about, being fit and all these different things and the glamorous world. And I get up there and I'm like, look, be yourself. And, it is totally things, but you guys are such an amazing power team, and you definitely are his good thing, as it talks about in the Bible. The man that finds a wife finds a good thing, and he definitely found a good thing. And as a result, he is obtaining a favor, as well are you. So thank you for sharing. Now, you talked about, I kind of want to segue into, before we get into some other things, in this particular, time, people of color in general in the United States have been, it's been a very interesting time, right, for us in general. But I know just in the recent months, there have been some, but there has been some pretty not so great things that have happened, in the Asian community. And you being on the board of especially Ascend, I wanted you to share with me a little bit about just kind of what, even maybe feelings that you're having around that, and as well as maybe what you're doing as an Asian woman, right? To just encourage and empower your fellow Asian Americans, as well as those who have migrated here just during this time. I'd love for you to share.
So I was born in the Philippines, and my family and I came here when I was 5 years old. So I experienced racism from early on. But one thing that I do love is this country. I love this country because this country gave me so many opportunities that I would not otherwise have. And what I've just learned is from a great mentor of mine, that's Dr. Connie Mariano, who is a former White House doctor to 3 US presidents, and she'll be at the Global Beauty Awards. She told me, Maureen, focus on being excellent. And I asked her, well, what do you mean about that? And she goes, if you focus on being excellent, then any perception people had about somebody who looks like you will change that perception by being excellent. And that is the mantra, or that's the analogy that I live by, is I want to do it out of love. And if I focus on being just the very best me, whatever perception somebody had about somebody who looks like me, I'm hoping that I could change that by just being the very, very best. So if they thought somebody with my size, with my skin color, with my background, aren't able to do certain things, hopefully if I show them in the role that I'm in, that will change their perception. And that really just resonated with me. And that was an advice that Dr. Connie took upon herself when she was the first military woman to become the White House doctor to 3 US presidents, because when she was helping in emergency situations, people would say, well, we don't need a nurse, we need a doctor. And she was, no, I am the doctor. So, but again, she never came to people out of anger or bitterness. She just gave them grace and just showed excellence. And that's what I hope to do as well.
Wow, that's very, very powerful. I think oftentimes when there's attacks happening and especially when it's so targeted, right? It's so intentional. It's hard to not take that and grow bitterness or grow anger. And you know, I think about, gosh, a year ago when, you know, we were all protesting, you know, for George Floyd and these other things that were happening. And I know as a mother to Black sons, I kind of took it personal initially, right? And so what you're saying to me is just so powerful, because every time I come in contact with someone, I try to not even change their perception intentionally, but just by being, right, operating with that excellence, operating with that kindness, that I can change their mindset if it isn't just that one moment. So that is so powerful. Now, Maureen, you know, my show is called Choose You. I know there's always kind of a point in our lives where maybe we're doing things like, you know, whether it's for other people or what we think our parents want us to do or whatever the case may be. But at what point in your life did you say, you know what, I'm going to go this direction. I'm not, you know, I don't want to go this direction anymore. I want to go this direction, and just begin to see the fruit and everything in your life to start coming to fruition?
Well, if you are raised by immigrant mother like myself, my mom is a tiger mom who really wanted me to just take on this world and just do everything in my power, whatever that I wanted to do. But normally immigrant parents want you to be an attorney, a doctor, an accountant, a position that is of prestige and also safe, because those positions, you need them. But one thing that my mother told me was, you only have one life. So whatever happens in the past, don't let that dictate your future. And I remember I actually did compete in a pageant many years ago, my one and only pageant. Yes. And I was so excited in this reporter sharing my story. And that planted a seed in my heart about being a storyteller. And if you are ever in the world of broadcasting or journalism, you don't make a lot of money starting off. And what, again, my mother said is, do something that makes your heart sing, so you don't feel like you're working a day in your life. So I took something completely, right, very different of what an immigrant parent would want their child to do, and did something. And did something that I was excited about doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. That is, I mean, it's interesting because I think when I first met you, just your passion to see other people's dreams come true. So the irony is, a lot of people go through life trying to make their own dreams come true, right? How can I, you know, do this? And you've literally leveraged all of your experiences, all the passion. I met your mom. I love your mom. And so I could totally see her saying all of these things. And the fact that this has turned into, like, you are, I don't know if you're the only one, that you guys own 4 state preliminaries for the Miss USA organization. That is just tremendous. All of your queens are outstanding. I love your new queens. I've known them since they were little, so I just love all of them. Now, there's a lot more than just the pageant that you do. I mean, as far as when these women are going through this experience, right? People often think, just walk on a stage and be pretty, but I know that you guys speak life into them. So could you share a little bit about kind of the passion and even how you use the pageant and production vehicle to really speak life into others?
So, Tasha, life is hard. And that's what I tell these young women. Life is hard. And we all are going to go through challenges, but with life, everything is a season. So if you're going through something very difficult, don't think it's going to be forever. It's a season. Like here in Washington State, we have 4 seasons. So that's the main thing that I want to reach out to them, because I actually interview every single contestant who gets up on that stage. So I know their weaknesses, I know their challenges, I know their insecurities, and also their dreams. And it's not easy sharing your dreams just with somebody, especially a stranger. And one of the things that they share with me is that there's a lot of depression going on within their school, within their community. And mental health is something that's a taboo subject, but now we're talking about it openly. Each of us go through that, and it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to know that whatever that difficult season that you are going through, it is not forever, you know. And that's what I want to be, as a sounding board to them and say, hey, if you're going through a breakup or you're experiencing bullying in school, it is not forever. And I promise, and I tell these young women, I promise your best years are still ahead. And they're very shocked to hear that. And, you know, now that I'm in my 40s, I'll be celebrating another birthday next month. I've waited my whole life to have a son, a husband, a family. And imagine had I thrown in the towel, you know, as a teenager or my 20s, tell them, just wait. I promise you the best years are still to come. So that's one of the main things that I want to pour into them. And the other thing that I really want to pour into these women, we try so hard to change ourselves and say, you know what, start celebrating your authenticity and that realness and that rawness. And once you are able to, that's when the real confidence happens. In fact, here's what I often hear: the ones who about to age out, and they do win their pageant, I ask them, well, what did you do different compared to years past? And they tell me, Maureen, for the first time, I am not afraid to lose. And I go, well, what do you mean by that? You're not afraid to lose? They say, you know what? I'm going to do everything in my power that I can to win this thing. I'm going to be the best version of myself. I'm going to be the healthiest I've ever been. I'm going to take care of myself mentally. But if that's still not enough to influence the judges, I'm okay with that, because my worth is not based on these judges' opinions. And it takes years to go through that journey to finally accept, I am okay, I love myself, and I'm going to accept all of my imperfections. So that's another thing that I really want to pour into these young women.
Wow, I feel inspired. I'm like, can I be 27 again so I can do the pageant? That's so good. I mean, and here I am, you know, just turning 40, coming into that, right? And that, I love that you said that, like, you know, it's not too late. Your best years are ahead of you. I mean, yes, you become a mother now in your 40s and you're, you know, married, but Maureen still got a whole lot to do. You know what I'm saying? And I love that you're also that, not just speaking it, but you're a living example of that, where you have these 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds thinking their life is over. And you're like, oh, honey, you got like another 5 decades.
Yes. Like when they cry about a bad boyfriend, I go, why are you crying about a bad boyfriend? I understand that. Or when they tell me, Maureen, I'm meeting somebody, and I tell them, hey, I didn't get married until 35. You have plenty of time. So if I can use my testimony to help them, saying, hey, it's going to be okay. That's the best advice I think I'm going to tell them, is things are going to be okay. Don't worry. Things will be okay. Be present. And that's something that I work on daily, because whether I'm in bed or in the shower, I'm always thinking about my to-do list constantly. Even when I get a massage, I'm always thinking about my to-do list. And if I can just focus on being present, it really lowers a lot of my anxiety and calms me down. I don't feel as overwhelmed. So that's something that I work on a regular basis, is being present. Like I'm being
Yes.
you right now, Tasha.
I'm happy. I am glad. Although I know, I mean, there's a few times I've messaged you thinking, oh, she'll get back to me in the morning. It's like 2 a.m, like, hi. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. She's making the world turn right now. Now I wanted to ask you, I mean, you have just such a positive and powerful story. And I've met your mom. Like, I know just the beautiful, upbringing that you've had. But has there been any time throughout your career, or even in your life, where you just weren't just like, yeah, I love Maureen and I'm great. Like, you were just kind of like, man, like, what's going on here? Maybe even a moment or season, as you call it, right, of doubting what Maureen is here to do. And how did you kind of pick yourself up out of that?
Well, I once had a boss who told me, Maureen, your accent is only going to limit you in life. And that was like really hurtful because I'm like,
Mm.
well, my accent is part of who I am. But when I took a step back, I worked very hard to make sure that I was speaking to the best of my abilities. But when you take a feedback from somebody like that, that's part of who you are. I wasn't born in this country. I was born in the Philippines. I've learned not to take it personally, and how
Mm.
to just be very positive. It's actually David who told me, my husband, who said, Maureen, we can change this world together if we focus on
Mm.
things that are going right versus the things that are going wrong. So every day, if I want to complain about something, okay, it's very hard to be married to somebody who's so positive, because it does remind me, Maureen, did you know that complaining is a choice? Or being a
Mm.
bad mood is a choice? Or being in a, victim mentality is a choice? And
Wow.
says those words, I'm like, you know what, Maureen? I got to turn things around like right now. And, I have a son, and he is so observant of everything that we say, we do, how we act. So he is a mirror of myself. So
Yeah.
if he acts up, I actually will look inside myself and go, I wonder if I'm doing something that makes him see that that is an acceptable behavior.
That's so good.
Yes. So to get back to what you're saying, or the question is I really try very hard to focus on the positive things going, because I notice my attitude changes, and I know that I tend to draw also positive people in my life.
Mm.
So if I start being negative for some reason, the universe starts attracting the negative people that want negative.
Ooh.
So I really want just positive things.
That's so good. I mean, yes, David is always smiling. It's just like, he's one of those really happy people. And I really appreciate you sharing that, because about focus. And we hear kind of the cliche of like, think about the good things, but really, actually, what you think about, you bring about, right? And so, or even as the word says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So I'm sitting here going like, that is so good, Maureen. That's a great reminder, where I do try to think like, oh, but oftentimes I'm like, how come this and how come that, and why don't they understand this? But it's like, what are they understanding, and what is positive that's happening? And I think those other things will take care of itself. And I love the example about your son, because our boys are like, I don't know, a couple weeks
Yeah.
apart. Xavier will be 6, gosh, in like 3 weeks. And so I think about, he will sometimes imitate or do certain things, and I'm like, ooh, I think you might have got that from me. It's like a 6-year-old mirror. You're like, oh gosh, like, oh, honey, don't do that. But yeah, I know, mommy shouldn't have done that. Like, not a good thing. Mommy, sorry, are we good? Like, we not do that? So I love that analogy. Now I want to talk about the 4th annual Global Beauty Awards that are going to be hosted in Idaho. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, this is just like amazing. I mean, even the very first year was amazing. I was honored to be able to, as she stated on social media, having actually 4 nominations and winning one of those. Because you guys know I'm dramatic, so of course the crowning moment, I'm sure no one's surprised. But and so I'm very excited. If you could just tell us just about, of course, the details of it, location, but if there's any new categories or kind of any fun spins that you can give without giving too much away, I would love to hear it. And also really quickly as well, just kind of the birthing of this. I love that you wanted to create something to honor, like a pageant Grammys, if you will, or Oscars, because it is a very powerful industry, and it makes ways for people, all different types of women all across the world.
Yes. So this idea came about a few years ago with my husband. I said, David, is there an award show where our peers vote and recognize each other? Because just in the US alone, there are 100,000 pageants. There's
Yeah.
contestants just in the US alone. So imagine globally, where it's very popular in Asian countries as well as South America and European countries. I go, why don't we forget about titles? Why don't we just honor and recognize each other? Because many of my great friends and my close circle are within the pageant community. These are people who tend to, one, want to be the best version of themselves, and number two, want to serve others. So I'm like, well, why don't we just have a big party and celebrating each other? So so this idea came about a few years ago, and then we had our very first annual Global Beauty Awards. And here's something you don't know, Tasha. Our trophies only arrived about, I would say, a few hours before the award show happened. Because our first set of trophies, nobody knows that because it was kept on the down low, and I was stressing. So our first set of trophies was made by somebody in Colombia. And when you ship anything from outside of the country, it goes through customs. And sometimes it takes days to go through customs. Again, I didn't know that. But by the time that the trophies did arrive, they got stuck in Ohio. They arrived on Saturday. I was stressing it so much. There's a lot of behind the scenes I look back now and I can laugh, but at that moment it wasn't fun.
Oh no.
Yes. But again,
you have a good poker face. I just want you to know that. You have a great poker face.
Very good poker face. But it all comes together. Like last year was our award show, and then 24 to 48 hours later, the shutdown happened. Who knew that the shutdown would last more than a year later? And it was, I remember that evening we were all looking at each other and we're like, we need to be here together. We need to make sure that everything is going to be okay. Because really, if you don't take care of your mental health, everything else falls apart. Like the number one thing, if people can just take away from our conversation, the importance of just taking care of your mental health. And for some people, that needs, or that looks like to be around others. You know, others, how they take care of their mental health, they need to be alone or they need to exercise. My mental health is, I need people. I'm a people. I love people. I love to find out what they're doing. And I get like the best high is just celebrating others. There is something so magical when you're in the audience, somebody hears their name, they come up on stage really surprised, and they're like, wow, somebody sees me. And it's me who's recognizing my work. Because in this journey can be lonely. And sometimes people don't know all of the hard work that goes on. People don't know the struggles. But for that moment, somebody feels like, wow, my peer knows that I'm deserving of this. It just is life-changing for many of these recipients. And they go on to do amazing things. And that's what the award show is designed, is number one, to let people know we see you, we recognize you, we honor you, and you have an entire community cheering you on.
Well, I can, you actually brought to my memory, during that time I was beginning my descent, if you will, but, at my kind of having my breaking moment, actually. And I remember saying, I don't think I'm going to go, Maureen. Like, I don't think I'm going. And you're just like, you need to go. Like, just do it. Just come, And I just remember it being a very sad time for me. And so I remember going and standing in line doing my red carpet pictures, and I had my makeup artist come over, and I'm just literally just like, oh my gosh. And, and you personally, with all that stuff that I had no idea was going on in the background, escorted me to my table, and just to hear the nominations and to have my name called was incredibly, out of that room, of all those people, and even the people that I stood alongside, it did impact me. Because you never know where people are in their life and what they're facing. And I think in that moment, it was like that shining moment, a moment of hope. And then it kind of, from there, I began my own personal healing journey, right? Where mine was setting myself apart and taking the time to really heal. So I thank you for that, because that show, I think about where I was at, how I was feeling. I felt just like so worthless. And then when you guys called me up there, and I'm like, I actually was a little bit speechless, which, we all know that's impossible. So thank you again for having that heart, because that's an exact testimony of that.
And the thing is, Tasha, it was your peers who voted on. So what makes this award show very similar to the Emmys and the Grammys? It's your peers. We have hundreds of members, from various pageant systems. They read through all of the submissions. And this year we had hundreds of submissions, and they actually physically vote on each single category. So it's not.
I know I did. I
Yeah,
voted.
it's your peers who want to say, hey, Tasha, we want to say, we see you, we want to honor you, and you're doing great work.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, what are the dates? I mean, I know the dates, but I want you to tell people the dates and location, and if you guys are going to have a opportunity to buy like a virtual ticket to watch it live, whatever those options are, if you could share that with me.
So the event's going to be on May 23rd at the Coeur d'Alene Resort in Idaho. And it's going to start at 2 p.m. is the red carpet, 4 p.m. is the award show, 6 p.m. is the dinner. We have Dr. Connie Mariano who'll be there. She is the first military woman to become the White House doctor to 3 U.S. presidents. We have the vice president of Sizzling Platter that oversees Red Robin, Dunkin' Donuts, Little Caesars, Sizzlers. He'll be there as well. We have a former Amazon executive who started the luxury brand department. He'll be there as well. We have Mrs. World Korea, Jennifer Lloyd, who we both know. She'll be there. A host of A&E, former Miss World Canada, Tanya Memi, and the list goes on. Dawn Jackson, who's the founder of Bosom Couture. Again, it's just these amazing people. And the reason why you're going is not only to celebrate yourself, but also to celebrate your peers. So just imagine being in a room with just a lot of loving and people who are just cheering you on. So it's going to be a great event. And as far as virtual tickets, we'll post all of that on the website, and that is theglobalbeautyawards.com.
I love it. I also heard Mrs. Courbet Globe is going. I don't know. Did you hear about that?
Who was that? Oh, yeah. Yes.
All right. Well, you know, I just want to say thank you so much. You just gave us a wealth of things, like takeaways. I know my biggest takeaway really is I know it seems so simple, but not just focusing, but speaking and embracing and literally looking at the positive. And I think that's such a big deal for all of us, as well as she's mentioned so many times about the importance of mental health, because that really is the foundation of us being able to do everything else that we do, right?
Yes.
So Maureen, now how can people, other than the Global Beauty Awards, how can people follow you, follow your different preliminaries that you, as well as your business? How can people stay in the loop with what Miss Maureen Francisco has going on?
Well, my Instagram handle is at Maureen M. Francisco. And then if you want to learn about all of our different pageant systems, that's at Pageants NW. And then, of course, at the GBA's official with the Global Beauty Award Show. So lots of exciting things going on. And again, Tasha, thank you so much for having me. This is a wonderful way to start my Tuesday morning. So
no, of course, it was my pleasure. Everyone, again, you are watching Choose You with Tasha Haskins here every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Of course, powered by the Mrs. Globe organization. And as I always say, it is never too late to choose you, change your path, and walk in your purpose. Thank you, Maureen, and you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.